Before you name it love, sit with your heart for a moment. Not the part of you that is attached, not the part that is afraid of losing, but the quiet part that feels everything when the world goes still. Ask yourself this honestly. Does this connection calm you, or does it keep you tense? Do you feel safe inside it, or are you always preparing for something to go wrong? Because the love Allah writes does not enter your life like a storm. It does not shake your peace, confuse your soul, or make your heart live in fear. If something makes you anxious while calling itself love, that anxiety is not passion, it is a sign. Allah never hides what is meant for you behind panic or emotional pain. And when you finally understand this, your heart stops mistaking fear for destiny and begins recognizing the quiet, steady peace of what was always written for you. The love Allah writes makes the heart feel safe, not alert. When love is truly written by Allah, your heart does not stay tense or on edge. You are not waking up worried about what mood the other person will be in today, or whether their tone will suddenly change, or whether silence means something bad. Your heart is not constantly preparing itself for disappointment. You are not rehearsing what to say in your head out of fear that one wrong sentence might push them away. That kind of alertness is not love growing stronger, it is the heart protecting itself. Fear shows up when something feels unstable, even if you try to convince yourself otherwise. Your mind may say, "This is normal," or "I just need to be patient," but your heart feels uneasy because it senses uncertainty. Allah does not place your heart into a situation where you must always be careful, guarded, or afraid of emotional consequences. Love from Allah does not make you feel exposed, as if your feelings are always at risk. When something is written by Allah, there is a quiet safety inside it. You feel free to speak honestly without panic. You can express your feelings without fearing punishment or abandonment. You are not constantly checking for signs of distance or rejection. Your heart is allowed to relax. It does not feel like it has to defend itself or stay on high alert to survive. This kind of love feels steady, not perfect, but stable. Even during disagreements, there is no deep fear of losing everything. Even during silence, there is no terror in your chest. Your heart rests because it knows it is not in danger. That calm is not weakness, and it is not boring. It is the sign of something healthy and protected. Love that comes from Allah gives the heart space to breathe, to trust, and to feel safe instead of afraid. Fear grows when love becomes emotional survival. Fear begins to grow when love slowly turns into emotional survival. This happens when one person starts feeling like the center of their happiness, their peace, and their sense of worth. Without realizing it, the heart starts believing, "If this person leaves, I will break," or "If I lose them, I will lose everything." At that point, love is no longer something that adds to your life. It becomes something you feel you cannot live without. And when love feels like oxygen, fear becomes unavoidable. Allah never writes love that replaces reliance on Him. He does not attach your emotional stability to another human being, because humans are limited. They change, they hesitate, and they make mistakes. When your heart depends completely on someone else to feel okay, fear takes control. You begin to tolerate things you normally would not. You stay quiet when something hurts you. You accept confusion, distance, or inconsistency because the fear of losing them feels worse than the pain of staying. This is why emotional dependence feels so heavy. You are no longer choosing love freely. You are clinging to it for survival. Your heart is not calm, it is desperate. You start measuring your value through their attention. Good days depend on their messages. Bad days begin with their silence. That is not love written by Allah. That is a heart that has forgotten where its true security comes from. When love is written by Allah, it strengthens your inner ground. You still care deeply, but you are not terrified of loss. You do not feel like your life will collapse if the connection ends. Your peace is not held hostage by another person's behavior. You know that even if something leaves, Allah remains, and that knowledge removes fear from your chest. Love from Allah does not make you weaker. It does not turn you into someone who begs, clings, or shrinks to be chosen. It allows you to love fully without losing yourself. It allows you to walk away with dignity if you must, because your heart knows it will survive. And when love no longer feels like survival, fear finally loosens its grip. What is written does not require you to betray yourself. When something is truly written by Allah, it never asks you to betray yourself in order to keep it. You do not have to silence your pain, ignore your values, or pretend that something wrong feels right. Self-betrayal often starts quietly. You tell yourself it is not a big issue. You convince yourself that being patient means staying silent. You slowly adjust your boundaries, your standards, and even your beliefs just to avoid conflict or abandonment. But Allah does not build love on quiet suffering. When a connection requires you to constantly explain away disrespect, excuse behavior that hurts you, or ignore what your heart is clearly feeling, that is not love growing stronger. That is fear teaching you to abandon yourself. You start choosing peace on the surface while creating unrest inside. You stop trusting your own feelings. You doubt your instincts. You feel guilty for wanting basic respect, clarity, or care. This is not sacrifice for love. This is loss of self. What Allah writes allows you to remain whole. You do not have to become less honest, less expressive, or less principled to be loved. You are not required to tolerate what damages your dignity just to keep someone close. If love demands that you stay quiet when you are hurt, accept confusion when you deserve clarity, or lower your standards to remain chosen, then that love is costing you too much. When love is from Allah, it aligns with who you are, not against it. You are able to speak without fear of punishment. You can hold your values without feeling like they are a burden. You do not feel torn between being true to yourself and keeping the relationship alive. There is no constant inner conflict, no feeling that you must trade your peace for connection. Allah does not reward self-erasure with permanence. What is written for you will never require you to disappear to be kept. True love protects your integrity, strengthens your sense of self, and allows you to remain honest without fear. And when you no longer have to betray yourself to be loved, your heart finally feels aligned instead of divided. Divine love does not keep you trapped in uncertainty. Divine love does not keep your heart suspended in uncertainty. It does not place you in a constant state of wondering where you stand, what you mean, or where things are going. When something is written by Allah, your heart is not left hanging without direction. While not everything becomes clear all at once, there is still a steady sense of knowing that you are not lost inside the connection. Uncertainty becomes painful when it lasts too long. At first, you may tell yourself to wait, to be patient, to trust the process. But over time, that waiting turns into confusion, and confusion slowly drains the heart. You start questioning your worth. You wonder if you are asking for too much just by wanting clarity. You replay conversations, searching for hidden meaning, trying to understand mixed signals. That mental exhaustion is not a sign of deep love. It is a sign that your heart is being kept in a place it was never meant to stay. Allah does not guide hearts through constant guessing. He does not write love that keeps you emotionally suspended, unsure whether you are moving forward or standing still. When love is from Him, there is direction, even if the path unfolds slowly. You feel a sense of progress, not stagnation. You are not promised everything immediately, but you are not left in the dark either. When a connection is written by Allah, clarity replaces confusion over time. You do not have to beg for answers or chase reassurance. You are not made to feel unreasonable for wanting to understand where you stand. Your heart feels settled because it is not being pulled in different directions. Uncertainty that leads to growth feels different from uncertainty that drains you. One strengthens patience and trust. The other creates anxiety and self-doubt. Divine love does not trap you in emotional limbo. It leads your heart forward with calm, not confusion. Real love does not train you to accept disrespect. Real love never teaches you to accept disrespect in order to keep it. Disrespect often begins in small, quiet ways. It may look like being ignored when you speak, your feelings being dismissed, your time being taken lightly, or your boundaries being crossed without apology. At first, you may excuse it. You tell yourself no one is perfect, or that love requires patience. But when these moments repeat and slowly become normal, something unhealthy is taking shape. When fear enters love, it trains the heart to tolerate what it should never accept. You begin to lower your standards just to avoid conflict. You stay silent when something hurts because you are afraid of being labeled difficult or losing the connection. Over time, respect stops feeling like a right and starts feeling like a favor. That shift is dangerous. Allah does not write love that survives on humiliation or quiet endurance. Love from Allah does not punish you for having dignity. You are not made to feel guilty for wanting to be treated with care, consistency, and fairness. You are not told, directly or indirectly, that asking for respect is asking for too much. When something is written by Allah, your worth is not questioned, and your boundaries are not treated as obstacles. In real love, respect is not conditional. It does not disappear when emotions are high or when disagreements happen. Even in moments of tension, your dignity is protected. You are spoken to with care, not control. You are corrected with kindness, not cruelty. There is no fear that standing up for yourself will cost you everything. If a connection teaches you to accept disrespect as the price of staying, that price is too high. Allah does not train hearts to endure what damages them. The love He writes strengthens your sense of self and reminds you that being honored is not something you must earn, it is something you deserve. What Allah writes does not drain your emotional energy. What Allah writes does not leave you emotionally drained. Love from Him does not feel like constant work just to stay calm or feel secure. Emotional exhaustion appears when your heart is always trying to fix, manage, or stabilize something that keeps slipping out of balance. You may care deeply, but instead of feeling nourished, you feel tired, heavy, and mentally overwhelmed. That kind of tiredness is not a sign of effort being rewarded. It is a sign that your heart is carrying more than it should. When fear is present, your mind never truly rests. You replay conversations, analyze tone, and question intentions. You spend energy wondering if you said too much or too little. You try to predict moods, prevent conflict, and keep the peace at your own expense. Over time, love starts to feel like a responsibility instead of a source of comfort. Allah does not write love that turns the heart into a battlefield. Love that is written by Allah gives back what it takes. Even during challenges, there is emotional balance. You may have difficult conversations, but you are not left depleted afterward. You are not constantly anxious, mentally busy, or emotionally worn out. Your heart has room to breathe, to focus on life, faith, and growth beyond the relationship. Emotional exhaustion often comes from one-sided effort. When you are always the one explaining, understanding, forgiving, or holding things together, the weight becomes unbearable. Allah does not place hearts into relationships where only one side is carrying the emotional load. What He writes is supported, not forced. When love is from Allah, it brings ease alongside effort. It strengthens rather than consumes. You still invest emotionally, but you are not left empty. Your energy is not slowly drained until there is nothing left. Instead, your heart feels steady, supported, and capable. That balance is a sign that love is aligned with divine wisdom, not working against it. Allah does not guide through chronic anxiety. Allah does not guide the heart through constant anxiety. While growth can sometimes feel uncomfortable, divine guidance does not keep your chest tight day after day, nor does it leave your thoughts racing without rest. Chronic anxiety is not a sign that something is meant to be. It is often a sign that your heart is being pulled away from its natural state of trust and calm. Allah is gentle with hearts, and what comes from Him does not crush the soul under endless worry. When anxiety becomes normal in a connection, it slowly affects everything. Your sleep is disturbed, your prayers feel rushed or distracted. Your mind is always occupied with fear of loss, fear of change, or fear of being hurt. You may tell yourself that this anxiety is just part of loving deeply, But Allah does not require emotional suffering as proof of sincerity. Love is not meant to feel like constant inner chaos. Guidance from Allah brings clarity, even when it brings responsibility. It may challenge you to grow, to be patient, or to mature, but it does not keep you in a state of ongoing fear. When something is written by Allah, your heart still finds moments of peace within it. You are not always overwhelmed, confused, or mentally exhausted. Chronic anxiety pulls you away from trust. It makes you doubt yourself, doubt the future, and sometimes even doubt Allah's plan. That distance is not a coincidence. Allah does not draw you closer to Him by weakening your inner stability. What He guides you toward strengthens your ability to rely on Him, not fear the outcome. When love is aligned with divine guidance, it supports your faith instead of draining it. Your heart feels steadier, not more fragile. Even in uncertainty, there is trust. Even in waiting, there is calm. If anxiety is constant and peace feels unreachable, that state itself is a message. Allah's guidance never arrives as relentless fear. Fear exists where power is unequal. Fear often appears where power is not shared equally. It grows in spaces where one heart feels secure and the other feels replaceable. When one person holds control over direction, commitment, or emotional safety, and the other is left waiting, hoping, or adjusting, fear becomes part of the atmosphere. It is not because love is deep, but because balance is missing. Unequal power does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. One person decides when communication happens and when it stops. One person sets the pace, while the other is expected to understand, wait, and adapt. One person feels free to express emotions, while the other feels the need to be careful, restrained, or silent. Over time, the heart that holds less power begins to feel insecure, anxious, and afraid of doing or saying the wrong thing. Fear grows when you feel that the connection could be taken away at any moment. When your sense of security depends on someone else's mood, availability, or willingness, your heart never truly relaxes. You start monitoring yourself. You choose words carefully. You hesitate before expressing discomfort, not because you lack maturity, but because the cost of honesty feels too high. That fear is not love speaking. It is imbalance revealing itself. In healthy love, both hearts feel safe to exist fully. No one is constantly auditioning to stay. No one feels like they must earn basic care or consistency. When power is shared, there is mutual responsibility. Both people protect the connection. Both people consider the other's feelings. There is no constant sense that one person can walk away untouched while the other would be left shattered. Allah does not write love where one heart dominates and the other shrinks. He does not place one person on solid ground and leave the other standing on uncertainty. When love is from Allah, safety is mutual. Neither person feels disposable. Neither person feels easily replaced. Both feel chosen, valued, and respected. Unequal power also appears when one person's needs are always prioritized, while the others are postponed. When one person's emotions are taken seriously and the others are minimized. When one person can make mistakes and be forgiven, while the other feels constantly judged or at risk. Over time, this imbalance teaches the weaker side to fear losing the connection instead of trusting it. Fear also grows when you feel you have no voice. When decisions are made without you, when boundaries are crossed without discussion, when your discomfort is treated as inconvenience instead of concern. In such situations, fear becomes a survival response. Your heart is not at peace because it senses that it does not matter equally. Love written by Allah does not place one person above the other. It does not create hierarchy in worth. It does not make one person feel lucky to be tolerated while the other feels entitled to stay. Divine love is rooted in justice, and justice requires balance. Where there is balance, fear has no reason to stay. When power is equal, love feels calm. You do not fear being replaced because you are not treated as temporary. You do not fear speaking up because your voice is welcomed. You do not fear being yourself because you are not competing for acceptance. There is mutual effort, mutual care, and mutual accountability. If fear is constant in a connection, it is worth asking where the balance has shifted. Who feels secure without trying, and who feels anxious despite trying so hard? Allah does not write love where fear becomes the cost of staying. He writes love where safety is shared, dignity is protected, and no heart has to live beneath another to feel chosen. What is meant for you does not require constant watchfulness. What is truly meant for you does not require you to stay on guard all the time. It does not ask your heart to become a watchman, constantly alert for signs of danger, distance, or loss. When something is written by Allah, you are not living in a state of emotional surveillance. You are not checking tone, timing, words, or silence to feel safe. Love that is meant allows the heart to relax instead of remain tense. Constant watchfulness begins when trust is weak. You start paying attention to small changes because your heart feels uncertain. A delayed reply suddenly feels heavy. A shorter message feels threatening. A quiet day feels like rejection. Slowly, love turns into monitoring. You are not enjoying the connection anymore, you are managing it. That mental effort is exhausting, and it is not how love from Allah feels. When something is not secure, your mind tries to compensate. You analyze patterns. You compare yesterday to today. You look for hidden meanings. You tell yourself that being careful will protect you from getting hurt. But what is meant for you does not put you in this position. Allah does not require you to stay emotionally alert just to keep something alive. Watchfulness also appears when affection feels conditional. When love seems to depend on how well you behave, how patient you are, or how little you ask for, fear quietly enters. You start editing yourself. You hold back questions. You suppress feelings, not because you want to, but because you are afraid of changing the atmosphere. That fear teaches your heart to stay cautious instead of open. Love written by Allah does not feel fragile. It does not feel like it could break at any moment. You are not afraid that one honest conversation will end everything. You are not afraid that being yourself will cost you the connection. There is room to breathe, to speak, to exist without constant self-control. When something is meant, you do not feel the need to constantly protect it from collapse. You trust its strength. You trust its foundation. You trust that it can handle truth, distance, and normal human moments without falling apart. That trust allows your heart to settle. Constant watchfulness also steals joy. Even when good moments happen, you cannot fully enjoy them because part of your mind is still alert. You are already worried about what comes next. You wonder how long the happiness will last. You wait for the shift. That is not peace. That is fear dressed as caution. Allah does not write love that keeps you from being present. What is meant allows you to live in the moment without calculating emotional risks. You can laugh without wondering if it will be taken away. You can care without fearing punishment. You can relax without guilt. Watchfulness is often mistaken for maturity. People say you are just being careful, just protecting your heart. But when care turns into constant anxiety, it is no longer protection, it is harm. Allah protects hearts by giving them stability, not by keeping them tense. When love is real and aligned, you do not need to constantly check where you stand. You know. Not because everything is perfect, but because the foundation feels secure. You are not confused about your place. You are not unsure of your value. You are not afraid of being forgotten the moment you stop trying. If a connection requires you to always be alert, always attentive, always careful, it is asking too much of your nervous system and too much of your soul. Love should not feel like a job you might be fired from. It should not feel like something you must constantly maintain through fear. What Allah writes gives your heart permission to rest. You are not on edge. You are not waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are not watching for signs that it is ending. You trust that if something changes, Allah will guide you through it without destroying you. This does not mean there are no challenges or misunderstandings. It means those moments do not create panic. They are handled with communication, respect, and calm. Your heart does not spiral because it knows it is not alone. When something is meant for you, you do not have to keep proving your worth. You do not have to keep earning your place. You do not have to stay vigilant to remain chosen. You already are. Constant watchfulness is a sign that your heart does not feel safe, and Allah does not ignore that signal. He places peace in what He writes so the heart can finally stop scanning for danger and start living. What is meant for you does not require fear to survive. It does not demand that you stay awake emotionally at all times. It allows you to trust, to rest, and to exist without tension. And when your heart no longer needs to watch for loss, it finally understands what real peace feels like. The love Allah writes never arrives as fear. The love Allah writes never enters the heart through fear. It does not arrive shaking your sense of safety, disturbing your peace, or putting your soul in a constant state of alarm. Fear may appear in life for many reasons, but it is not the doorway through which divine love enters. Allah is gentle with hearts. What He sends is meant to settle you, not scare you. When something is truly written by Allah, the heart recognizes it through calm, even before the mind fully understands it. There is a quiet sense of rightness, not because everything is perfect, but because nothing inside you feels threatened. You are not afraid of losing yourself. You are not afraid of being honest. You are not afraid that one mistake will destroy everything. That absence of fear is not weakness, it is alignment. Fear often disguises itself as passion. It convinces people that constant worry means they care deeply. But care does not require panic. Love does not need anxiety to feel real. When fear is present from the beginning, it usually means the heart feels unsafe, unsure, or unprotected. Allah does not write love that immediately puts your soul on edge. Love written by Allah does not rush you into emotional pressure. It does not make you feel like you must hold on tightly or risk losing everything. It does not create urgency that feels suffocating. There is patience in it. There is room to breathe. Even when feelings are strong, they do not overpower your peace. Fear also shows up when love feels conditional. When you believe affection can be taken away at any moment, your heart starts to panic. You try harder, you give more, you stay quiet about what hurts you. But Allah does not write love that makes you feel disposable. What He gives is rooted in mercy, not threat. When love comes from Allah, it does not destabilize your faith. It does not pull you away from prayer, clarity, or trust in Him. Instead, it strengthens your connection to Him. You feel more grounded, not more lost, more hopeful, not more anxious. You do not feel torn between loving someone and trusting Allah, because the love itself encourages that trust. Fear creates confusion. It makes you doubt your worth. It makes you question your place. It makes you second-guess everything you do. Love from Allah does the opposite. It may challenge you to grow, but it does not confuse your value. You know where you stand, even when the future is still unfolding. The love Allah writes also does not make you afraid of peace. Some people are so used to chaos that calm feels unfamiliar. They think something is wrong when there is no drama, no anxiety, no emotional roller coaster. But peace is not emptiness. Peace is stability, and stability is a sign of something healthy and protected. Fear often keeps people attached to what hurts them. They stay because they are afraid of being alone, afraid of starting over, afraid of letting go. But Allah does not trap hearts through fear. He frees them through clarity. When something is written, you do not stay because you are scared. You stay because it feels right. The love Allah writes does not feel like walking on thin ice. You are not constantly afraid of upsetting the balance. You are not afraid to be yourself. You are not afraid that expressing your needs will push someone away. That safety allows honesty to exist without panic. Even during difficulties, divine love does not turn into fear. Disagreements do not feel like threats. Silence does not feel like punishment. Distance does not feel like abandonment. There is trust beneath it all, and trust removes fear from the heart. Fear is loud. It demands attention. It creates urgency and pressure. Love from Allah is quieter. It speaks through steadiness. It shows itself in consistency, respect, and calm reassurance. It does not shout to be believed. When love is written by Allah, it does not make you smaller. It does not make you doubt yourself. It does not make you feel like you must earn your place every day. You feel chosen without needing to compete. You feel valued without needing to prove. The love Allah writes never arrives as fear, because fear is not how Allah nurtures hearts. He nurtures them through mercy, balance, and peace. Even when He tests, He does not terrify. Even when He delays, He does not destabilize. If something in your life consistently scares your heart, unsettles your soul, and keeps you emotionally restless, that fear is not random. It is information. Allah places that discomfort so you do not mistake harm for destiny. Real love does not make you anxious about tomorrow. It does not make you afraid of loss every day. It does not make you feel like you are constantly one step away from heartbreak. What Allah writes may require patience, but it never requires fear as a foundation. The heart knows this truth before the mind accepts it. That is why, deep down, you feel exhausted by fear. You feel tired of being alert. You long for calm. That longing is not weakness. It is your soul remembering how love is meant to feel. The love Allah writes feels safe enough to rest in, safe enough to trust, safe enough to grow. And when fear is gone, you realize something important. Peace was never boring, and calm was never empty. It was protection all along. What Allah writes does not scare you into staying. It does not frighten you into silence. It does not hold your heart hostage. It arrives gently, stays steadily, and leaves only with wisdom. And that is how you know. Real love does not scare you. What comes from Allah always carries peace before it carries anything else. The truth is simple, even if accepting it is difficult. Allah never writes love to frighten the heart. He never asks you to live anxious, guarded, or afraid just to be loved. Fear is not a sign of depth, and chaos is not proof of destiny. What Allah gives carries peace within it, even when it carries responsibility, patience, or growth. If something in your life has been calling itself love while quietly stealing your calm, that was never meant to be your forever. Allah is not harsh with hearts. He does not trap them in fear. He protects them with clarity, and sometimes that clarity comes as discomfort, not to hurt you, but to save you. When love is written by Allah, your heart feels safe enough to breathe, to speak, and to rest. You are not chasing reassurance. You are not bracing for loss. You are not shrinking to stay chosen. You are simply present, trusting, and at peace. Let fear be your sign, not your sentence. And let peace be the standard you no longer apologize for. What Allah writes will never make you afraid. It will always make you feel held.